back to Scouts Winning Sports Day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back with my dad today. We are here to do our Florida State predictions for the year. So let's get into those. First off, at home against Miami, I will take Florida to get the win. I think Florida is a little bit better than Miami is right. I think Miami's a better team, but I think at home, I think Florida finds a way to win it.
I agree with Scott here. I think if this was in Miami, I'd take Miami, but with Napier coaching for his Gator coaching career, I think Florida gets a win at home against Miami.
Next up, at home against Stanford, I will take Florida. I think Florida is a much better team than Stanford is right now, so I'll take Florida at home over Stanford.
Maybe Florida's only easy game the entire season. Their schedule is crazy.
Yeah.
I agree. Florida goes 2-0.
Next up, at home against Texas A&M, I will take Florida at home over Texas A&M.
Texas A&M's gone through a lot of shakeup, a whole new coaching staff. I agree. I think Florida gets a win against Texas A&M and goes 3-0.
Next up, on the road at Mississippi State, I will take Florida. I think Florida is a little bit better than Mississippi State, but I think they'll find a way to win it. I'll take Florida over Mississippi State.
Since this was on the road, I think it's going to be a very close game, but I think Florida finds a way to get the win and beats Mississippi State to go 4-0.
Yep. Now, at home against UCF a couple weeks later, UCF coming into this game with a major chance to put the country on notice about how good this team is. And I think UCF takes advantage of that. And I think UCF pulls off the major road upset against a probably top 10 Florida team right now, with them being 4-0. So I think the polls are going to overrank Florida after 4 nice wins. They're going to overrank them. They could be in the top 10 at this point. So I think UCF goes into Gainesville and shocks the entire country and pulls off the road upset over Florida.
I'm going to agree with Scott. I think Florida, after going through that juggernaut schedule at the beginning, and they've got even a tougher schedule coming up, as you'll see, I think they overlook UCF. UCF's got this game circled. I think UCF gets the win, and Florida goes to 4-1.
Yep. And going into the next week on the road at Tennessee, I will take the Vols. I think Tennessee's a much better team than Florida is right now. So I'll take Tennessee to get it done at home over Florida.
It's hard for me to pick Tennessee, but here I have to. I think Tennessee gets the win at home with Josh Heupel.
Next up, at home against Kentucky. Tough game, but I'll take Florida at home over Kentucky.
I agree. Florida's schedule is going to get really tough. You're going to see coming up, and so I think this is one of the last winnable games. I think Florida gets a win against Kentucky at home.
Next up, on the largest outdoor cocktail party, #1 Georgia. They probably will be #1 still at this point. I will take Georgia on the road against in Jacksonville to get it done against Florida.
Yeah, it's a neutral site game, but I think Georgia's just the better program, so I think Georgia gets the win here, unfortunately.
Yep. Next up, on the road at Texas, I think Texas is a much better team, so I'll take Texas out at home over Florida.
Having Georgia and Texas back-to-back is crazy. Probably 2 top 3 teams in the country. So unfortunately, I agree. Florida's going to lose here.
That could be the national championship game this year, those 2 teams.
Possibly.
Next up, at home against LSU, I think that's another loss. I think LSU's a little bit better. So I'll take LSU on the road to get it done against Florida.
I think Florida's going to come back after smarting from 2 losses. They're going to be very, very motivated. And I think they beat LSU in a squeaker.
Next up, on the road at home against Ole Miss, I will take Florida. I think Florida's going to lose this game at home against Ole Miss.
I'm also going to take Ole Miss as well. I think, much as I'm not a big Lane Kiffin fan, I think he's got that program going in the right direction. I think Ole Miss gets the win here.
Next up, on the road at Florida State, I will take Florida State in this game. I think Florida State's a much better team than Florida is right now. So I will take Florida State on the road at home over Florida.
If I would say much better team, but I do think that since this is in Tallahassee, unfortunately I have to pick the Noles.
Okay. And that'll do it for the Gators. Let me just check something real quick here. Let's see. I want to see when that Alabama-Georgia game is. That would be... Oh, yeah. So there you go. Okay. Now we'll do the Florida State. First game tomorrow. College game day back at it tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. from Ireland, Seamus, as your guest picker tomorrow. That should be really interesting. As they take on Georgia Tech, I will take Florida State in this game. I think Florida State's going to find a way to win this game. Florida State could be like 2015's Florida State team where they win a lot of close games, late in games. But I'll take Florida State at home over Georgia Tech.
If you don't know who Sheamus is, he's a WWE superstar, and he is hosting our with a guest picker on game day, which is exciting for WWE fans. Georgia Tech, this is not the same Georgia Tech squad that we had a few years back. I think Florida State gets the win by a touchdown or more.
Next up, at home against Boston College on Monday, September 2nd. A little bit of jet lag here for Florida State, but I think that they'll find a way to win this game late in the game. I'll take Florida State at home over Boston College.
Boston College gives Florida State fits every single season. I'm actually going to pick the upset and take Boston College in this game.
Okay. Next up, at home against Memphis, I will take Florida State. I think Florida State's going to find a way to get this win at home over Memphis.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for Memphis to swallow. They lose Mike Norvell to Florida State, and then they go get thumped by Florida State. So I agree. Florida State wins this one.
Next up, at home against Cal, Florida State wins this one also. Also, it's a West Coast team coming to the East Coast. So I'll take Florida State at home over Cal.
Cal has not had a very good football program for a while now. I agree with Scott. I think Florida State gets the win.
Next up, at home, on the road at SMU. I will take Florida State. I think SMU is going to have a tough first year here in the ACC. So I'll take SMU. I'll take Florida State at home on the road over SMU.
I agree with Scott again. I think SMU had a pretty good record last year, but that was based upon an easy schedule. I think SMU is going to get the loss here.
Next up, at home against Clemson. I think Clemson remembers that game last year. That Florida State went into Clemson and got the win last year. I don't believe it happens this year. I will take Clemson on the road over Florida State and gets revenge for last season.
I agree. I think Clemson is a proud program. They've had a couple down years by their standards. I think Clemson goes into Florida State, gets the upset, and gets the win.
Next up, on the road at Duke. I would love to see if their quarterback's still there for Duke. But I'm gonna take Florida State in this game. I think Florida State finds a way to get this win on the road against Duke.
Regardless of who Duke's quarterback is, I think Florida State's the superior program. I know Duke has been better of late, but I think Florida State does get the win.
Next up, on the road at Miami. This game's in Miami, so I will take the Canes to get the win at home over Florida State.
I agree. I think Miami is an improved program. I think since they're playing at home, I think Miami gets the win.
Next up, on the road at home against North Carolina. This is not going to be the North Carolina team you've seen the last couple of years. So I will take Florida State at home over North Carolina.
No Drake May, no win for North Carolina. I also like Florida State in this one.
Next up, on the road at Notre Dame. I will take the Irish to get the win here. I think Notre Dame's going to find a way to get a win here on the road over Florida State at home.
I agree with Scott. I think because this one's in Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame is going to win a very close one.
Next up, on the road at home against Charleston Southern. I think Florida State should get the win here. I think Florida State finds a way to get the win at home over Charleston Southern.
I agree. I don't know why there's Charleston Southern. Is there Charleston?
I don't know.
Yeah. Charleston Northern?
I don't know.
All right. So I think Florida State gets the win here pretty easily.
Next up, on the road at home against Florida, like we said, I think Florida wins this. I think Florida State wins this game 9-3, and they probably go to the ACC championship game and then probably the college football playoff. So I will take Florida State to get the win over Florida to finish off the season.
I agree. I think Florida State is going to win this game. It'll be interesting to see with their strength of schedule and how the ACC game goes, whether they're on the outside looking in for the playoffs. It's going to be very, very close. But I do think Florida State gets a win here. And
I'll be back next week with a special Thursday edition of Scott's Weekend Sports next week. I'll be back on Thursday before we head out to the UCF football game next Thursday night, if weather permits. Hopefully it does. And we'll see you guys right back here next Thursday on Scott's Weekend Sports. See you later, guys.
See you guys.